Thank you so much as well for inviting me. I'm Jan Brinckmann. I'm professor at ESADE Business School. No, as said, so actually very happy here to jointly support the building up of the ecosystem in Barcelona and Spain and Europe, and hopefully as well much beyond as well. Yeah, quick thanks to all the organizers here for doing this. I think is a very worthy cause, and especially focusing on the creative industries, and then really seeing what can we do to bring more people into really exciting, let's say, lives, exciting things, exciting works areas. So I'm very proud to be part of that, and yeah, like to share a few ideas about that. Drawing, and so independently, I would do it based on three backgrounds. One is as a researcher. So I'm originally from Berlin. There I did my PhD on the competency of technology-based companies, and the question was, which competencies do these teams, these founding teams need in order to create high-growth ventures? So what you see there's a focus on high-growth ventures, and really what I focused on as well was the team level, which interestingly as well, we can talk about that, and I hope it becomes quite interactive here, this talk. As Sean builds, I would totally agree. We need a different understanding of what really entrepreneurs are, not a single person entrepreneur, the entrepreneur, but really the team level is the key thing, and then really looking what do teams need to achieve. So I'll draw and reflect a little bit based on that background as well. I did a lot of empirical research, data-driven things. So there, actually, I used a different format here. I would do it more interactively, and so a little more, yeah, as well in the sense of using narratives. The second big part is being and heading the education activities and the entrepreneurship space at ESADE. We observe a certain structure, what happens when people want to create companies. So I would reflect on that and what it kind of tells us if we want to start a company. And the third role that I basically draw on in this talk would be, for me, I'm very passionate about entrepreneurship, and I love research, I love teaching, but as well, really what I love a whole lot is supporting and basically empowering, how I call it, empowering entrepreneurs. So yeah, there I'm involved in different growth companies, and especially many are in the creative or industries, and yeah, a few reflections there of common themes that we see. At any point as well, so this is not a set, I mean, obviously I prepared as well a set of slides and talks that we can talk about, but if you want to jump in between, I'm open to whatever format. And yeah, I like controversy as well, so I think it's very important, and a little bit the lack that we have here oftentimes in Europe is to challenge as well the professor to some extent, to speak up, to ask questions, and so, which are key skills later on in entrepreneurship, to think for yourself and do things for yourself. So this is not to be like a proposition, but really hopefully a very interactive talk. Let's see if this works. Yeah, this basically the drawing from the research side of things, from the teaching side of things at ESADE. As well, we just wanted to show you a few examples of companies that I'm involved in. One, what clearly comes from the creative industry is Janique. Janique is basically, if you so will, makes art affordable for a segment that are young people. If you think about it, like normally what people these days do in Europe, they go to IKEA and buy their posters and so, and then what we see in terms of creativity, everybody has the same picture of New York from that bridge on the wall. So the idea here is, isn't that a better approach in terms of expressing kind of art and style and individuality? Here it's basically a platform of combining all the artists, the popular artists from different cultural zones to basically, show art that is in sync, hopefully with people that they can relate to and like to put up. So they're kind of to reflect that. It's actually a very fast-growing company. The founders, they are graduates as well. One of is a female founder. It's a team of 3 actually, graduated from ESADE, then created Casacandra in Berlin, which was after I think 8 months bought by Fab.com back in those days, over 10 million exit. This is the second venture. So it shows as well the opportunities that there are for young people to really create these companies. That was the second idea kind of here in the art space. Very briefly here as well is an example that I'm personally as well very proud, because it's a company founded by very young people. It's Icebergs. I don't know if you heard about that. Icebergs was created by two actually design students here that have a design background, that study design, then created a company that basically here the idea was to, for business professionals in the creative art space, to save images and share images and work on images, all this graphical representation in a space, kind of, you could think of it in between Evernote and Pinterest. This company, after as well, I'd say roughly maybe 2 years or so, was bought by Pinterest. And those were entrepreneurs here from Barcelona, now do actually the product development in the Valley in San Francisco there. So I think this as well, it shows the huge opportunities, like a company like Pinterest coming here, and really saying, hey, this is very exciting work that we do, and we think there's a massive way to leverage that globally and now having an impact there. This one as well, to me, is a Club Caviar that some of you know. It's a local example as well. I'm part of other companies too, but those I picked more as well, the ones that we could relate to maybe here, is basically taking a model that has been established, basically online reservations, creating a club experience from that. And to me, the big thing here is to work as well a lot with graphics, and so to make it a very exclusive way, to make it kind of special. If you do a booking, for example, El Tenedor or the Groupon, you could say it's very transactional focused. And here at Club Caviar, the idea would be to create really like a membership feeling on exclusivity. So to me, that as well has a lot to do with then the art piece, and then the question, so how could creatives there help if they want to create a company in that space? Just a few examples that maybe some can relate to and want to ask questions. Happy to do so. Overall, I would focus on 3 areas. One is kind of giving a background to what's going on, because to me, I think I would view it, if we would have a lot of time, I would show you a massive wave that is coming, and I think we are just starting at that wave that will be coming. And maybe I can show you with a few images or so why this wave will be pretty massive and why it will change our lives. It will obviously create quite big challenges, I think, for many individuals, for our societies for sure as well, because there's, I think, a lot of questions that arise from that. But then as well the opportunities that there are in kind of, in a way, surfing this wave that for sure will come. And that's so basically the part of digitalization of the economy. Then specifically talk about the opportunities for creatives, and then like what can you do to actually get started in this space, and some suggestions there, reflection or point of discussions there. So basically, taking quite many steps back and looking at the development, it's really hard to imagine, but maybe roughly 200 years ago, pretty much all of our families, all of our people were working in agriculture. North of 95% of the people were working in agriculture. That was the life, and that was what people knew, and no related businesses and trading businesses of the agricultural space. That's just 200 years ago, which to me, that's not a whole lot of time. That was their normal. That was what people learned, that they grew up with, that they said, okay, this is the trade that I can, everybody there, all their peers, their family groups knew that that was the standard. Then they came with basically something like the steam machine, or you can say the tractor, and said, hey, what you're doing there doesn't make too much sense. These jobs we will not need anymore. And then within quite a short time, all of these jobs, if you so will, over 95% of what people and the whole world population was involved with, just evaporated in the air. And then the question was, well, what do we do? And if we look at the kind of the next phase, No, then people say, okay, then this manufacturing started, this whole idea that you actually, you create these workshops. There were many, many small workshops. Here we see an example of quite a big workshop. No, but then say, okay, you now as a next step, food you don't have to care for. That one, can be produced in a very efficient way. Food now you just, then buy. And how do you buy it? With the money that you make in producing goods, physical goods that you work in the craft shop. So that's kind of, then the next big thing was a huge thing as well. Many, many, thousands, millions of jobs, the whole shift of the economy to a large extent into manufacturing. Well, let's look at what that part looks like today. And this is within few decades. So if we would have gotten back to the 70s, 80s, in this hall it would be full of people. Thousands of people working there. Now somebody came up with these smart machines, right? And it's a computer doing that. If you, I read the news the other day, just Ford, for example, as one example, the new company that they just established in Russia, which has low labor cost, is automated by 90%. So you have these huge halls, and there's just very few people even running around. And all of this is our robots basically doing that. And I would say there as well, just looking at what's happening, we've just seen the very tiny bit of it. It's just starting. And then, yeah. Here, by the way, I got some data as well and from Mary Meeker from Kleiner Perkins, Caulfield and Byers. She has this wonderful report on internet trends, so kind of what's going on. And to me, it's fascinating, to see, I mean, it has two sides always. On one side, the opportunity, on the other side, the challenges, but that goods producing now in the US, which is quite a manufacturing as well, traditionally, country, for example, is just 14% of all the jobs. So what's going on here? And if you see, well, who's behind this? Just to give you an example, it's this cut, it's software. It's somebody putting in the code, it's software producing goods then. That shows you the power behind that. And then, so what does it take now to produce more of it? Technically, the software obviously is scalable. The machines you can run 24/7, If somebody wants to copy something, in a different country, it's quite easy. If you have the software, that turns the machine, do a copy of it, you can produce whole cars. There's, let's say, some counterfeit problems in certain countries where whole parts of whole cars don't come from the original manufacturer anymore. They are like, somebody took the software and just had other machines run doing exactly the same. And there's obviously a lot of engineering hours going into that. But it shows as well, to me, that how there's a massive shift here, from the value of producing agricultural goods to producing then physical goods, and now how really software, there's this expression, software is eating the world, but really how software is running this world and how scalable the software is, which on one side, positive side is our productivity then goes through the roof. You don't need anymore these, let's say, 40, 50% of the economy to be in manufacturing. There's like far fewer can do so. And we can design all kinds of things then. Can be jewelry, we think of manufacturing, anything. To me as well, if you look into that, if you maybe personally reflect on that, I grew up there, as a kid in the 80s, a TV set was something special. Somebody like in Europe, somebody had 2 TV sets and people had to save for that. These days, it's, the price of all these goods went down so much, it's like it's almost too much, you could argue, for that. So that value declines. Let's look into that. Here over time as well. So what's the kind of going on? Is that just like a recent phenomenon or so? We see technically, this has been happening, ever since, you could say even like pre the Second World War, that the service jobs are increasing. So we're moving more and more into service, the soft kind of jobs, and the goods producing jobs are declining. To me, massive, massive change. And if you say, when did really the internet start? Roughly in 94, what we see as 94, 95, Not even a real dent there. If you consider that cut is driving the world, I think we'll see there more and more, because that obviously should be a big driver of this phenomenon. interesting thing as well, if we look, no, and kind of to the point of the TVs, if we look at, so how do the prices really develop? No, that was more anecdotally. Yes, the TVs relatively have become cheaper. If we look into that, well, the prices of services, no, have grown 4 times than the price of physical goods. So we see as well that really the value shifts. On one side, we have more money to spend, no, because the physical goods cost less, but then that means as well, no, the other prices, and relatively speaking, we have to pay more. This is data here from the US. Interestingly here, for example, huge opportunities in healthcare. No, so it's as well, it's not, oftentimes I think as well one sees this progression, there's this, oh my God, soon machines will do everything and there's no room for humans. You know, we will all sit at home and have no work. I think that's just wrong. If you so we'll know, see the supply function. I think humans can do amazing things. Services oftentimes are not as scalable, and if you see in healthcare, no, in aging and so, you could easily have double the treatment, right? You can use double the people and just provide more services easily if we would have the resources to do so. But the argument could be that because of this high increase in productivity, it can shift, and we do have more and more resources. Yeah, housing, for example, recreational activities, I think shows us well lots of opportunities there. So to me, it's almost hard to find a real image of what today's workplace is like. No, it's basically, it's this mobile thing. You can almost work from anywhere. Here, actually, we see a telephone. Even that one obviously has become obsolete to some extent. So, yeah, some new dynamics there, a new wave coming. Here as well to show you, of this wave building up, 95, the start of the internet, there you see roughly, 0.6% of the world population were actually using that, so nobody, no? Today we have 2.8 billion people using the internet. Billion people, no? After, I think we're a little bit north of 7 billion overall. That's roughly like we're getting to half the people. It shows us, well, it's still a lot of room, and surely more and more will come online there. If I go one step further, as well, data from Mary Meeker's report, the mobile phone usage, there we are now at 5.2 billion people that are connected on the phone, that before, a few years before, they had no connection at all. So now we're talking really not just the developed countries or developing, we're talking about the whole world joining in this huge opportunity of, for the first time, being able to use technology to do things and so. And yeah, obviously there's as well many opportunities then arising from that. Here, for example, if we look at the smartphone penetration, smartphone to me is an amazing thing. I think that we as humans have not even touched a little bit the potential of that. Why is that so? If you look at the processing power that Sergey Brin and Larry Page had when they started indexing basically the web using the Google algorithm, their processor had less processing power than this, and this is like a technically old smartphone, like an early version of it. That means, now the things that we can do with that is just unheard of, and I think, yeah, we just have to get our head around it and really understand what we can do with it. And obviously there's some easy wins like gaming, but obviously there's some way more, I'd say for mankind, powerful wins that we, luckily as well can explore further. Looking, I have a business background, so looking at the business of that, it as well virtually exploded. If we take the top market caps of the 15 biggest companies here, we're moving from $16 billion to now $2 trillion. It's just a totally different league. So if you say even back then in the first wave, like the new economy building up, people were overly optimistic, the valuation were nothing in comparison to what we see now. And obviously as well, many actually have very, very exciting businesses that they are working on. So huge opportunity and very quick time as well economically to generate quite some value. This one you maybe have seen also. as well the opportunities to now work without assets, because I think especially in Europe we have a lot of thinking that, in a sense, the classic, or what I'd say as well, being German, the Marxian thinking, that some people, they own the assets and they control everything, and so I think if we really look into that, we have to strongly challenge that. If we take Uber, for example, the world's largest taxi companies, that has no vehicles anymore. It's a network, of just organizing things. Facebook, as a media company, the world's biggest media company, but creates no content, has no writers really, and so Alibaba, the retailer, the world's biggest retailer, no inventory. All of that shows there's huge opportunities as well on one side. However, I will reflect on that critically too. Or Airbnb, that especially in Barcelona, we know here quite well, as being an amazing big hotel space, but obviously it doesn't own the hotel rooms. Okay, just as well, another big trend that we see is getting away technically from the full-time employment, where we really say, okay, I study, I try to get really good studies at the university, and then I have a full-time job and will do that all my life. I think clearly that has changed all over, and what we see there, strong driven by these companies as well that I just mentioned, they create an additional layer to kind of use the time that we have to make additional money. For some, it's almost as well a complementary income, because they cannot make enough with their original job, which obviously is a big then challenge and difficulties. So you have to work different jobs at the same time. For others, it's just additional income that they are happy to have. But we see this trend, that as well, the marketplace is not just that there are big or bigger corporations that employ people, but really it's becoming more and more fragmented. People working for smaller companies, for these high growth companies, or as well known as freelancers, and so, which changes as well a lot, and huge opportunities there for people that understand this, are close to these developments, and then leverage that as well. Can be as well quite empowering in terms of if you get freedom through that, and personally deciding how you like to work. I think as well a huge opportunity where I'd say we haven't seen anything yet is looking at the international or global dimension of things. If we take one number, the ratio of global workforce working outside the home versus the ones working in their home countries, just 2% work outside their home countries. That is massive. To me, if you consider now, and we've seen a little bit now with the migration issue in Europe here, to me this is just the start of things. In a way more, let's say, globally connected place where people, they hear and they know what's going on in other countries, and then the markets are growing together, the cultures growing together. I think the Erasmus program, for example, at the European Union level is an amazing thing that historically hasn't been there before, that people actually experience what it is like to live there, not just to do like the Germans often like to do like a quick vacation somewhere or so, but really to go out and live there. Huge opportunity as well, what it means in terms of ideas and bringing ideas abroad. And so, if we see looking at the other side of things, oftentimes we think it's so easy to start the born globals now. You just put up a website and you have distribution globally. If we look at the reality right now, it's clearly not the case. If we take something like a platform like eBay, it's 90% of the deals are national deals, just 10% are cross-border deals. Just imagine if that would shift fundamentally. If we would really become more of one global marketplace. If a person from the US would just have the same chances to sell me a good here in Barcelona than a guy that is from Spain. Would change fundamentally the mechanics of the game. And my argument is we will see more and more of that happening. Here overall as well, in that sense, we ain't seen nothing yet. E-commerce, if we just simply buying things online, currently it's we're roughly at 9% then of the overall economy being transacted through digital media. But it's clearly growing, and it will do so more and more groups and services and products that we currently may be still buy in a traditional sense. Will soon be online. one thing that, to me as well, to kind of show the shocking dimension of what's coming on, this may be more on the scary side, is if you pass through a street, let's say in Barcelona, or take any street in any part of the world, could be, in the US or in Netherlands or in Great Britain, and you look at the stores and you ask yourself, will this store, given this trend, be around in 10 years or 15 years? And to me, that shows that there will be massive disruptions. Almost like you still see the people plowing on the ground, and you know there's a tractor coming. And so I think we, as well as society, we have to prepare for that. And so on, what could we do? Yeah, what is really driving that? So on one side, we see the e-commerce going up for sure as well. We've seen more and more people are coming online through the internet, through mobile phones, especially through smartphones. Another clear driver is just people spend way, way more time on media. On the devices. So it's a multiplicative effect here that we see by more people spending more time doing more things online, and that obviously will create a strong drive. To me as well, quite amazing, shocking drivers will be the launch of, kind of in a sense, one question could be, what is holding this thing still back? Why is it that it's still so fragmented? Why is it that it's still so slow? For example, Amazon, if you think about it, the most successful e-commerce company, it took them, I think, it started in 95, it arrived in Spain in 2010 or something like that, no? So 15 years later, 15 years it took them to come, one of the more bigger economies here and even in the Western world. But so what's holding it back? And then if we see the service of Amazon, clearly they're still struggling a lot in Spain. Amazon currently, one key driver is delivery times. Just imagine if delivery times would increase massively. Currently, if you order something, you have to wait a couple of days here on average, let's say in Spain. If we take the wave coming in San Francisco, they have 1 hour deliveries. Most of the products in 2 hours, they can deliver it to your home. Just imagine, we are here, you like something, or you think of something, or you hear of a book, you order it, and when you come home, you know it's already there. Will you go to some other store? I think really amazing potential and quite amazing change coming up. Here, this is, another slide to me, very fascinating from the Mary Meeker report, is in all these different verticals as well. So we think about Amazon as one case, but it is in everything, in food as well. There's a clear thing. In transportation overall, it changes massively. Entertainment, and then these delivery platforms that basically enable whole new industries. I think so. We ain't seen nothing yet. We'll get very excited. There's a little bit of a lag here. So overall, I'd say as in terms of drivers, and so behind all of that I think in the creative industry, and so we have to be aware of. I would say So it will be increasingly digital, away from physical goods into more like software that's running that. Moving as well online, if you so, and even more so on the mobile space, on the smaller screen there, and increasingly global as well. There as well, again, we're very early on. So, but what does that mean? What are the opportunities here for creatives? Talking more specifically, like what could one get out of this? To me, one interesting phenomenon, if we see these changes now, everybody says, and we have role models, so I want to be an entrepreneur. I have this fundamental iceberg theory, and that is, if I would see like business pitches of students or so, without looking at them, I can already predict what is in those pitches. Because every year, I'm sure every entrepreneurship professor has this experience, it's the same. It's the same things. And that's not because people are non-creative or so, it's just how our brains are wired. We observe the same things and we want to do the same things. And that to me are all things on the iceberg. The same things reoccurring over and over again. Because why? Because our cognition is triggered by things that we perceive, we have certain things that we like, and because of that, we like. To me, the interesting thing is, especially preparing for this big wave, there's a big opportunity, like below the surface, very much in the water. I would argue there oftentimes you need a few years to be in an industry to really see that. To me, the classical example there is, if I look at this stack of business pitches of dreams that people want to create, 90% or so are B2C, meaning the customer that's supposed to pay for that is the final customer. If you think of it, if you flip it around and think of it as a supply chain, so somebody's producing something, selling to them, it's just at the very end that where you have a B2C market. If we look at the numbers in terms of likelihood for the ones that want to create a big company, it's way more likely actually to create a B2B company. Way better valuation at IPO, for example, to create a B2B company. If we think a few years back, these VCs, this venture capitalists, the supposable risk takers, did not even invest in B2C companies because they considered it as being way too risky. It's way too risky to try to build a brand. You never know if that will work or not. Maybe you're popular one day and then it declines again. They wouldn't even touch it. In the investment contracts with the investors that gave them the money, it says no investment possibilities in B2C. Just recently, now because we have Instagram and we have Facebook and all of that, no, they feel more confident to be able to go into this area too. So, but let's not forget, I'd argue that where we're coming from and where there's huge opportunities is in B2B. And there, no, oftentimes people think there's no opportunity there, but I think, no, just think of people, an area where you work, it can be very simple and say, like, then if you work for somebody else, your boss, what's your boss kind of, what are the big problems that your boss has? And try to address those, no? Or that you see overall where your business or a business could actually be your customer, huge opportunity there. Unfortunately as well, if I look at my stack of business pitches, I know as well currently that I'd say there's maybe roughly 60% of the business pitches are some form of platform. So bringing together buyers or sellers in the digital context. That, you know, and I've shown you some examples, and we all know that these companies are worth a whole lot in the stock market or privately as well. But people, what they don't see is that actually creating platforms is a very difficult game. Very, very expensive game. Normally you need millions to build these up. It's not so easy to do. And there as well, why is that happening? Because we think about platforms the wrong way. The lay person, no, as well, or creatives, if they want to create a company, they think about it like, hey, okay, no, I can create this website and that's to it. And then people will come online. Well, people just don't come online. Even if it's super viral, you have to bring the virals, no, in online marketing is considered a leverage to it. You have to buy normally traffic to get it up to scale. And this buying of traffic is very, very expensive. So focusing on that part, no, when you think about ideas as creatives, normally you think about them at scale, I'd say, meaning everybody is using that. To me, my point is if everybody is using that, that even the lamest idea becomes very exciting. The problem though is for entrepreneurs starting something, you're small and nobody is using that, or very few people are trying that, but they don't come back. No, so how can we think about that? That's a big problem. Well, I have an idea. Let's look at my stack of papers here. To match local chefs, that's now a common thing, no? Because we like food and so maybe private chefs that like to cook at home, send them to people at home. Wouldn't it be great to have a platform of that? Guess what? That one, I'm sure we see every single year. No, and all over the world, not just here in Spain, we see it in all the countries. No, and then these platforms, again, there's like one or two normally that can win in a platform game. Is that so good to go into that? One stop platform for travel or stay abroad. No, we have lots of students that come from all over the world. This is a classical phenomenon, classical tip of the iceberg phenomenon. Hey, I want it easy. It's hard to find an apartment here in Barcelona. It's hard to find a mobile phone provider. Wouldn't it be great if there would be one simple platform? No, but to me it's, okay, there's a classical, no, if I take a step back, iceberg idea. It's very visible on the top. Many maybe try it, maybe as well. One-stop platform normally means you need to combine different business, maybe not so easy to create. Let me speed this up. Custom-made suits would be a classical one. Somebody has been to Thailand, Bangkok, or has been to China these days. No, has seen you can create customized suits for $80. No, here in Europe they sell for 400, the same type maybe. Hey, great, isn't it? But I would say as well, oh, we're still at the iceberg, kind of many see these opportunities. A restaurant where you can bring your drinks. Actually, no, that's very popular in the US. Here, nobody does that. No, wouldn't it be great to do? Maybe, but maybe as well not. Again, many see that. Kindergarten for a corporation, that to me is my favorite MBA idea. It's a classical, no, for MBAs on this process. They have kids and so they see it's all very demanding, very little time. Wouldn't it be great to have the kids close by? Yes, maybe, no, there's an opportunity there, but as well, for sure, for me, it's on the iceberg. ready-to-drink tea in Europe, in the US, no, it's a huge category as well, very successful startups that created huge businesses there. Here it doesn't exist. Yeah, could be an opportunity, but for sure as well on the iceberg. Another favorite one for me being in Barcelona, no, the burrito stand in Las Ramblas. No, if you see how much traffic there is in Las Ramblas, I think any business will work there if it has somewhat decent food. I would argue that no, that we have a quality issue directly on Las Ramblas in the restaurant space. So no, but then looking into that is, okay, many see this opportunity, but then again, if you look into that, no, it's a very simple thing is, for example, mobile food is not allowed in Barcelona, so okay, that kind of limits the possibility there. Pick-up laundry service for busy professionals. I think you get the idea, no, that there's certain themes that come over and over again. No, and my personal reflection is, what can you do that is actually not this like everybody else, no? And it's a phenomenon. Oftentimes people that have a background, no, they studied, for example, the MBAs on average have 5 years business experience in an industry that was normally not the consumer general space. No, and then they say, hey, I want to be an entrepreneur. I love these Mark Zuckerbergs and what they're doing. And then they throw it away and we're back at laundry service for this or that. It's a shame. I would almost say, use the leverage, use what you know in this industry and think about if maybe there's a really cool opportunity there. This one as well, briefly, there was a shift when Instagram was bought by Facebook for over $1 billion. And people thought, hey, this is easy. If I ask my friends, creating Instagram is doable. It's not a difficult thing. Within like 6 months or so, you can have a wonderful, quite look-alike there. Scaling it is quite difficult, technically, but the basic version. And then you think, oh my God, there's one person that made so much money. It's easy, right? It's like we get this impression that money is easy to do, and that is never really done a good sign. Obviously, as well, there's lots of competition in this space. If you look at the numbers of app-based businesses, it's quite a challenge. This one as well, really, talking about where people get attracted to and what they find excited. And as well, we see a lot of that done with, in the creative industry is they see, something like an Uber. Then, hey, why not create a platform, that's beautifully designed, and does X or Y or Z. Obviously not Uber, because that's already covered. And why would we do that? Well, because Uber, has raised 1.6 billion. That's a whole lot of money. We can't even get our head around it. That means, as well, doing the math, if they are worth close to, in this case, easily close to 10 billion. Huge. What I say is, looking at this, we should read the news the other way around. What really this news is communicating me is, well, Uber needs, in order to operate and grow like they are doing, 1.6 billion between the 2 financing rounds, right? That means they have a burn, if I say every year they raise this money, of roughly, let's divide it by 12 months, so roughly 1.2 or so, so $120 million going out negatively, losing that money every single month, Are they doing it just for fun? No, because you need that for a platform to operate a platform. And so I think that we have to get a more realistic as well feeling for, so how can you start a company? And clearly in the platform business, it is not about design. It is not. That is misleading. One could say, hey, I'm creating the more beautifully looking Craigslist. Craigslist, I'm sure many know, is the biggest classified ad site in this world. Well, there's a clear decision why Craigslist looks like that. They could easily, in these over 20 years that they are around, have created a beautifully looking website. But on a platform, it's all about transactions that you do, liquidity on the market. So how many, if you are a buyer, how many sellers do you have? If you're a seller, how many buyers do you have? If you are there the biggest, you go to the biggest one, even if it's ugly. So maybe not so smart to start a company there. This message I like to make very, very clear to me. A huge totally ignored area is B2B. So and in a second I will talk as well on how to get into the B2B space then if one feels one has no connection there. I would say for creatives, focus a lot on that part, B2B. To show as well really the dramatic shift of industries. Because one could say, okay, isn't it a wonderful news? Now there's more and more in the service industry. I'm, as a creative, as a designer, work in the service industry, so no, my job market should be growing. I say, hey, wait a minute. Let's see what's going on here. I took the prices of the biggest designer platform in the world. It's 99 Designs. It's basically, if you want to get a design these days, you go on this platform as an entrepreneur and so, you can post a description of what you want the design to look like, and then people send proposals. Let's look at the pricing. So for the bronze package, I pay 294 euros here. And then I can expect 30 designs for that. If you think about it from the other side, I mean, it's a great offer, obviously, on the customer side. But you say, hey, there are 30 designers putting this design work into that to maybe win the deal, and then to get paid 248 euros. If we divide it by 30, it's basically per design, on average, if it would be evenly distributed, would be 8 euros per design. No, divided by 30. If I can win 1 out of 30, 250 divided by 30. This is not fun if you ask a designer. No, you put all the work and then you get 8 euros expected value. No, that shows, oof, and this, no, we talked about the globalization of that, will become increasingly competitive. So maybe living in an expensive city, I all of a sudden have to compete with somebody who has way less cost, and so living somewhere else and so. So to me, there I'd say, especially for creatives, be careful. Certain elements will become commoditized. Although it sounds creative and unique and so, there's a big trend there, so we're kind of, yeah, careful for that. By the way, they have a money-back guarantee. Just imagine what that means for the designer. And yeah, so that could be quite a challenging thing. Oftentimes as well, when people then, or people say, hey, okay, I need to do something then. I can't be maybe the standard designer. I have to come up with something myself. Maybe even better, become an entrepreneur myself, not always work for somebody else. No, and then to me, there's the classical kind of Newton approach to it. It's basically, so I'm looking for inspiration, right? And it's basically I'm sitting under a tree and waiting for this apple to fall to then say eureka, and now I know that I should create Uber, and after that everything is history. Let me tell you that that never happens. I haven't seen that in a single case. No, and we have seen lots of cases develop. No, and then what's the other approach? So no, as well as Sean argued before, lean startup approach makes a whole lot of sense on how to start a company. No, it's a step-by-step approach. You focus really on the pain point first, developing an early solution, validating that solution, seeing that you have key metrics in place, and then later scaling it. No, if you want to. But it's, so I'd say as well for creatives, don't think like just being the most innovative and so will give you success, and being the most creative. I don't believe that. I think the odds are against you. I think actually following a process helps you way more. Yeah, here, so what can one prepare for? I think there's a huge opportunity in B2B design. So really specializing in the studies on already not the classical consumer design, but B2B, what do really amazing products look like when the customer is a customer? For example, here an example is Workday. What basically is HR software reimagined. How do they design the dashboards? How did the processes work and so? I think there's a scarcity of really good, let's say, creatives that can develop that, really good experiences there. Another big thing, I think, is moving away from just purely thinking, hey, I'm on the creative side of things, I develop something, but really going the steps forward. Because in teams, we'll see that in a second in the process, in high growth startups, what really is needed is not just the logo and what it looks like, but the next thing, the front end developers, the ones that create these websites and what they look like, they need to know the design templates, the layouts for that. So going into that, understanding what coding possibilities there are helps a whole lot. So I think being a designer and being able to code, front-end code like JavaScript, for example, HTML, CSS, all of those, I think for sure I would take courses in that and try to get hands-on knowledge in doing so. Another thing, and that to me is almost like the biggest opportunities out there, especially for people that have passion for the creative side, is becoming an amazing product designer. Because in the end, if you think about it, all the ventures, really the core of it all is having amazing products. But looking at that, no, and what is taught, I think oftentimes this, what makes amazing products, amazing, for example, B2B products, people don't know, no, people have very little experience in. So focusing a lot on what is really a product, and that often combines creative things, but as well combines an interest for markets, an interest for other products, for competition, for how competition normally involves in different markets. So I'd say that don't push this kind of market business side away, but embrace it, because that's a key skill. It's kind of at these intercepts where really the rare combinations are found and where there's huge opportunities. A lot of it as well, no, as we enter the digital space is, no, you can test a lot, and a lot will be based on performance, no, because you could say, hey, we create the nicest designs. Normally in all the companies that I'm involved in, it's not just to create a nice design. Obviously we want to stick out there, but it's really as well in the end, it needs to perform really well, no, because the one that performs can no, get more visitors on the site, can bid higher on Google AdWords, for example, on Facebook, no, converts them better, just is in business, and the other one we'll never hear about. So I think as well combining and looking into this aspect of performance, how does my design perform and how can I create better performing designs, huge opportunity there. Yeah, in terms of marketing as well, I'd say going one step in front of the funnel, so saying, hey, we create an amazing product, but on top of it, I'm thinking of, so how can we get the visitors, our users onto the site? I think if one is really specialized in that, one doesn't not need to worry about the future anymore. There's so many jobs out there, and people looking for really good people, creative people with a background in kind of marketing, online marketing, but can be offline marketing as well. All of that, designing B2B sales process and all of that. Just to give you an idea as well, so what's the price tag these days that people put on creativity? Here, if I take, this is actually from Apple, the design company, this amazing design company. So how much would I get paid if I am the creative person there? Basically, so my base salary becomes my overall salary and will be roughly around $54,000. If you now in Europe think, oh my God, that's maybe double the salary that I'm getting here in Barcelona, well, what people don't see is that living expenses in Silicon Valley are more than double the height. Like a two-bedroom apartment, I think, is now just hit $5,000 a month. So 5,000 times 12, you do the math. With this salary, you couldn't even afford a two-bedroom an apartment. So maybe here we have some challenges. Let's look into like slightly different profile. Here we're talking about a product designer, somebody that actually creates the product and is really skilled in that. We see it's almost like 3 times, 4 times the salary. That shows us, well, hey, this is rare. There's an opportunity there. Yeah. To me as well, another thing is, if you look at the sales price, I cannot disclose it, but obviously Pinterest paid a whole lot of money, so like millions to acquire Icebergs. Why would they do so? One key thing was about the talent. So it shows if you are talented, this is a huge opportunity for you out there. Building on the stream that Sean Williams proposed earlier is, I think we have to think as well very differently about entrepreneurship. It's not about the individual entrepreneur, it's really about the team. And the teams are normally professional teams that are structured in a certain way. I would suggest most especially digital business have kind of 3 key areas. The CEO, somebody more leading the venture, motivating employees, raising funds, working as well that the whole team buys into the same vision, strategy, and all of that. That's the classical CEO role that creatives as well could wonderfully do. Then there's the CTO part. It's basically this question, okay, we have to build a product, and who's building that part? And there is a massive opportunity because CTO/product is a key area that you need in all the ventures. I would argue even in the US, oftentimes out of these 3 bubbles, they would pull a 4th bubble next to the CTO was head of product. So the CTO is more the guy that has the technical side of things, but then there's the intermediate that takes as well the market insight and so develops, so which features, how should our experience look like, all of these things. So a whole, and that one, again, standard part for technology startups, huge opportunity there, huge market developing, huge need for people. Then the CMO side is more the performance marketing guy as well. I think there's a huge opportunity for creative people. No, because it's basically as well in a lot of things become commoditized. It's basically we're bidding on the same keywords and all of that. So if somebody is really good in understanding things, coming up with new ways, for example, just to give you an idea on the video side now, that's increasing massively, YouTube in terms of performance marketing or Instagram. So if you really understand like what drives people graphically speaking, or creatively speaking, to gravitate to a new brand, I think that's very, very valuable. Yeah, very briefly here, just the key kind of closing messages. One is, people always say, hey, use your lifetime. The lifetime is very, very precious. No? So do something that you're very, very passionate about, because I think when you're so highly motivated, you will excel no matter what. So like our lifetime on Earth is limited, always keep that in mind and do something that is valuable. Don't just as well do something because maybe now Jan or somebody else told you to do that. I think that wouldn't be too successful, but really listen kind of inside you and then, but then do that in a sense full speed. As well, to me, there's a key question, what keeps you up at night? What do you like to work at night? It's real work, and you like to do that, then do that full time. That's where your passion is. I have as well the Barcelona test. Is basically, a friend, let's say, calls me, hey Jan, I like to go to the beach. We can have a wonderful cocktail there with a great view. And then for me the test is there something that I enjoy way more, and it's actually work related? Shows me, hey, I should do more of that. Because I say, at least, even if it doesn't work out in entrepreneurship, because there is a high failure rate, at least I have spent my lifetime doing the most amazing thing that's even better than having an amazing time with my friends on the beach. And I think that's really what we need. Then another key thing to me, and there's, I think, as well as a cultural divide there, has to do with ambition. I think what we need is really people that are very, very ambitious. I understand that most people do not want to create a growth company. They want to have something small. They feel they cannot do that. But I think the real kind of drivers, which as well later will be the heroes, are the ones that are very ambitious. And I think as well, if you saw oftentimes in the social circles, my friends, they all have these normal jobs, and if I work like crazy, would say this guy doesn't know how to live. I think surround yourself by other people that are very, very ambitious. It's almost like FC Barcelona, there in the soccer space. It's perfectly accepted that these people, they train like crazy, obviously. They train very, very hard to be where they are at. And it's that's socially accepted. In the business sense, I say surround yourself, on the professional sense, surround yourself with people that want to play in the first league, that enjoy doing that, because then you get as well the social, like acceptance of that, and you mind, and that one for sure we see a lot. So to me, ambition is one of the key drivers of it all. Then, oftentimes I think, especially here in Spain and maybe as well other Mediterranean countries, what I observe is there is this division. Is when I go to studies, I just study, and I think that is very dangerous. I think what you should do is when you study, when you spend the time at the university, seize that time and work in parallel and do lots of project work. Because that as well is another complementary really way to learn. Here, for example, we see Facebook was started. Obviously here we see Mark Zuckerberg while he was studying, like a side project, and obviously he learned a whole lot, and it kind of changed his life later on. Learn to code as well. We talked about that, so I'd say do real projects there, not just for university, taking a course, but really surround yourself with people that code, see how you can join in, get some books, try some things out. There's lots of online courses these days as well, all for free. Use that, and get hands-on knowledge on how to code. Product design as well, why not volunteer? And there's so many startups say, hey, I want to be your product manager. Maybe even you don't pay me for that, but that way you learn on real projects what it really means to build an exciting product. I think many entrepreneurs will appreciate that part as well. Go into this, learning about performance things, like reading about it and blogs, Quora, all of these wonderful things, but as well going out there and trying it hands-on knowledge again. A/B testing as a reminder, UX design, as well as closely related to that. How should digital content be laid out and presented? How should the user experience feel like? performance marketing, as well as amazing resources online, all for free. But then as well, this is all a little bit like passive knowledge converted into active knowledge by actually saying, hey, I'm doing an internship for a company that uses, for example, Facebook. And by doing so, I learn how Facebook campaigns are run. I think one of the best ways, one of the easiest way actually to get really inside knowledge. Because somebody else can teach you and say, hey, let's do these campaigns, and then you run them, and there, it's an easy way to get into this space. You say, hey, we have to do it like this or that, and I learn from her or from him a lot of things, huge opportunities. Another big thing is, I think really what we have to do, and that's all over the world, is we need to embrace the different capabilities. There's this huge divide. If we look, for example, even at Stanford, the Graduate School of Business has created big growth companies, but as well, many, if not the vast majority, came from engineering schools. So people with different profiles. Unfortunately, as well, it's hard to get these schools to talk to each other. And that's even at Stanford, that culture is already predisposed. I'd say we have that all over the place. Business people oftentimes, or people that have founded, are not even business people, but have some training in business, think of developers like, hey, I'm the brilliant guy, I'm the Steve Jobs, and I tell some kind of coding slave to write this code for it. Obviously, really good people you cannot motivate. It's not that Messi can tell the goalkeeper how to play the game, how to be the best goalkeeper. You have to understand what really forms a team, and you really have to appreciate that people are really good in different areas, and create that coding is an art by itself. That part. Same on the business side. Then people think about the business people. Hey, these are just money-focused guys. I can assure you, for all of them, money is one aspect, but maybe not the driving one. It's as well really to enjoying work with other people, building an amazing product, building a company that grows, all of these things. And there is a need for that. The Google people resisted, the two founders of Google resisted almost a year to get the Eric Schmidt as a CEO on board, as a good business guy. They both were engineers, right? Young engineers. They didn't want that. Just imagine what would have happened to Google if they wouldn't have embraced to have Eric Schmidt come on board. And he was not the first that was presented. They presented many of those. So I think it's key. We need to get over this perception that people are in certain ways and really embrace, not just kind of say, okay, yeah, it's okay, I let them coexist, but really embrace that. Because teams need to work together and so. And there you need to actively, really appreciate and really admire as well, I would say, these different functions. This maybe as well as a final message is, no one can talk about many things. And we can say, hey, maybe I should do that. And I think one of the biggest challenges in life is to find something that you're really passionate about. But to me as well, the only way to really find it out is to do many things. And here, what's this example is, I think these practicas, this working with real projects, is there a wonderful way to do that, especially for younger people. Work in different areas, 2-3 months. I think you get a feeling for if you like it. If you like, do more of it. And if you didn't like it, do something else. But do something. Do not just sit at home and think Eureka will happen, and then all of a sudden your creativity will save you. So yeah, some ideas here. Thank you so much. I think it was a little bit over time, but looking forward as well for questions.